Vijay, starting it off with you, because I've seen your videos, on social media that have gone super viral, where you've simplified and broken down what happened with IndiGo. We've talked about what happened. The question now is, what next? What stops this from happening again? We've heard from the aviation minister. We've just broken the news that IndiGo has responded to a show cause notice and said they need more time to do a root cause analysis. Give us your perspective, Vijay, on what next? What happens next?
Look, honestly, in a market where 92% is really governed by just two airlines, I don't think we have much of a choice but to play by the rules of the biggest player. It is a consumer-driven market. We don't have a choice but to go with what IndiGo says. So I'm not too very sure if we'll be able to take very, very stringent action on IndiGo, because the end sufferers are going to be the passengers. I think the changes have to be a lot more structural. We'll have to invite more participants into the industry. And I don't think there are going to be any quick fixes for a long-term solution in this, Shiv.
The question on most people's mind, most people have a short memory. They will get back to flying, and when they do, they don't have a choice. They will have to fly IndiGo. They're cursing it today, but they will have to fly IndiGo tomorrow. There's no other choice. So the question on everybody's mind, Vijay, is what stops this, or what is the assurance this won't happen again?
See, I have a slightly differing view on this, Shiv. I completely agree with you. Some of the key routes, you don't have any other airlines flying. For instance, Chennai-Trichy, you have about 7 flights a day. It's only IndiGo. You don't have any other player. Chennai-Ahmedabad, 2 big cities being connected only by IndiGo, direct flights. You don't even have Air India flying in that route. So if you say no IndiGo, I mean, who else are you going to fly with? And I completely agree with you there. And your tweet was perfect. In 3-4 days, we will go back to IndiGo. And that's the truth. So I think the problem is much more deeper here. An airline, while I understand that IndiGo has been doing this, serving our country for the last 20 years, but look, I think they have been treading thin ice when it comes to handling customers, handling passengers in an effective manner. I've been in the industry. I was with AirAsia when IndiGo was really growing, and we were also trying to make a mark into the industry.
Yeah,
some of their market practices were scary in terms of commercial, in terms of dropping the prices, in terms of edging out competition by the sheer size of it. So yeah, it's not a very open and shut case where saying that IndiGo will bounce back, they will do their best. I think structurally we need to wake up. This is definitely not healthy. Look, Shiv, also we can't be reactionary in a lot of cases. And this I'm talking from a government perspective. Look at what happened in a rare earth case till about 6 months back when China suddenly pulled the plug. And we realized that we were literally being held hostage by another economy. Now the government has woken up. And that's pretty much what's happening in aviation also now. Having realized that, okay, this is not structurally sustainable, they are going back and probably, but there needs to be structural changes, Shiv. This is definitely not sustainable.
When we talk about restructuring right now, I can't help wondering that, for most of our lives, we have wanted the government to get out of the civil aviation space. Now we're wondering why the government is not doing more in this space to regulate and structure things and, and basically hold the wooden ruler, as it were. Can you throw some light on that? Is it a kind of contradiction?
There are two aspects to it, and I'll try to keep it really brief here. The first aspect is, should government run the business? My answer is government should not be running the business, but we need a national carrier. And the way to go about it, in my view, is government, for instance, has this investing arm called NIIF, National Infrastructure Investment Fund. Now, the mandate of that fund, which is government sponsored, is to invest in infra projects, and airline and aviation is part of infrastructure as part of the harmonized master list. Therefore, one way to do it is probably to invest in an airline company with 49%, leave it to professionals to run it, and get a counterbalancing private equity from some other fund. And, that can well be a national carrier where government has oversight, but they don't run it. But Shiv, I think fundamentally, we as a country are not a very aviation-friendly country. Yeah. Look at the number of companies that have folded. And if you ask that question as to why it has happened, if I were to give the top 3 reasons. 1, the aviation fuel, which is 50% of the airline cost, is heavily taxed. As you know, in some states, the taxes are as high as 30-35%. I mean, that's not sustainable. Secondly, 75% of the payouts that is done by an airline company is denominated in dollar. So which means if the rupee to dollar is not stable, then it's going to be a nightmare to run a financially robust company. And that apart, then I think Captain Rao will be in a better position, or Neha will be in a better position to answer this in terms of what our training infrastructure is. Are we really geared to be able to turn out so many cabin crew and pilots on a regular basis? So structurally, we need to make some changes.
The Indian aviation market, and I'll end with you, Vijay, is like a sort of graveyard of airlines. There are so many airlines that have come and valiantly tried to create a footprint and and failed. And this is a difficult business. One still sees those rusting Jet Airways aircraft parked. It's such a tragic sight. This is a business with small margins, but obviously with potentially large profits to be made. So still the attempters still try to enter the market and do it. You've led one airline that came in as well. So what is your view on this? Do you think this particular crisis will spawn a scenario where we'll have more choice, where we'll have more airlines?
Unless there are the structural changes that we spoke about a while back, Shiv, unless any of those things are happening, I don't see any investor coming in at this point in time. As you very rightly said, it's a graveyard. I mean, why would anybody want to come in and challenge a giant like IndiGo? Make the turbine fuels cheaper, give some solutions to make the cost structurally competitive. Because fundamentally, the mindset of a lot of us is that flying is a very elitist mode of transport. And therefore, people should afford to pay. No, that's not the case. Aviation should be accessible by the middle class. It should be accessible by everyone. So for that, unless the costs are competitive, the fares are not going to come down. And unless profit is fairly visible, investors are not going to come into this industry, Shiv, in my view.